in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. Good day to all of our listeners and viewers, and thank you for tuning in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast, where you can discuss careers, finances, entrepreneurship. You can discuss marriage, divorce, raising children, blending families, dating and relationship. And today, live broadcasting from the FijiWater.com sponsored studio, you can discuss diet and nutrition. With us today, the first Thursday of every month, as always, our monthly contributor, Rebecca Buva, licensed and registered dietitian and nutritionist, BeccaTheDietitian.com. Becca, would you greet our listeners who have been looking forward to you being with us again this month? Say hello.
Hi, everyone. Happy September.
Yes, happy September to all. So we are going to just take a moment to remind everyone that we are here with Becca every month, first Thursday of the month. And if you go to BeccaTheDietitian.com, you can see all of the insurances that she offers, everything that she offers to all of our listeners and viewers. She'll be covering that during the broadcast today. And as always, she's with us for the entire broadcast right here in 3D, which is brought to you daily by Fiji Water, Earth's finest water. You may already know that Fiji water comes from Fiji. However, did you know that it is created by nature? It is untouched by man. It starts as a tropical rainfall which slowly filters through layers of volcanic rock, where the water collects in a natural, sustainable, artesian aquifer where it is bottled right at the source, free from human contact until you unscrew the blue cap. Fiji Water, Earth's finest water, will be delivered right to your front door when you subscribe for delivery, and you'll save money at FijiWater.com. This is not just ordinary water. This is Earth's finest water at FijiWater.com. And as I announced to all of our listeners and viewers, and I have to confess to everyone that Becca reminded me that today is the first Thursday because I was thinking that was next week, so I hadn't gone through all of your communications to select except for a few of them. So Becca has, as always, is on point, has a topic for us. So Becca, I'm going to let you take over, and if you will share your topic, and then I do have some questions that came in from our listeners and viewers, so I pulled those this morning, and we are excited to have you with us.
All right. So since school is back or about to be back for everybody, I thought we could take the time to kind of focus on school lunches, but not only just school lunches, but really lunches for everybody, because I don't know about you guys, but for me, every time a new school year starts, even though I'm not going back to school anymore, I'm kind of thinking of it as like a reset, refresh. It's a new year, almost like January 1st too. So now is the perfect time, for your kids to get them ready to go back to school, or if you don't have kids, to focus on yourself and getting yourself refreshed after the summer is coming to an end and we're kind of getting back into a more busy season with activities and events and all that kind of thing. So, there's a few different aspects of lunches, building your lunches, packing your lunches, that I want to discuss today. So I want to talk about the preparation, or the planning, the preparation, and then putting it into action. So this applies, again, not only to just packing lunches for your kids, but also packing lunches for yourselves, whether or not you have kids.
Becca, can I interrupt just for one moment? Could you repeat those 3 Ps? I love that. Would you share that again? Because I hope everyone, as always, has a notepad and a pen when Becca is with us so you can write down this information. That was really profound. Can you share those again?
Absolutely. So we're going to talk about planning, preparation, and action, how to put it into action. So the 3 Ps, planning, preparation, put it into action. So first off, we'll start with planning. So maybe you do this, maybe you don't already do this, but myself, I like to plan out my meals for the week. So on Saturday or Sunday, me and my husband get together. I have my notes down. I have my calendar. I look at everything that we both have going on for the week. And I look what nights we may be busy, might be on the go, not have as much time to cook. We consider all those things going on. So what night we want to eat out, what night maybe we should get takeout, and what nights we can actually dedicate to cooking. So we plan out our week. We say, okay, we're going to cook this many meals this week. We pick what those meals are, and then I make my grocery list with that. But myself, and probably a lot of people out there, we focus so much on dinners, but we forget about lunches and breakfast. So I want to kind of just take this chance as a reminder, if you don't already do it, maybe starting to plan for dinners is the first step you take. But if you are already planning for dinners and have forgotten your other meals, start to plan for lunches, start to plan for breakfast. So that's the planning phase, and that's going to help you build your grocery list, like I said, and also cut down on costs. If you have a plan and you go into the store with a list, you're going to be more likely to stick to a much lower budget than if you're just going in, kind of trying to pick things out on the fly. There have been studies that show that it is way more cost effective to go to the store with a list and stick to that list. You're also going to reduce food waste. So, two huge benefits just to taking a couple minutes, sitting down, planning things out for the week. So that's number one. Number two is the prep. So we've planned, we've purchased our groceries, and now we're going to prep for the week. So when it comes to dinners, some people meal prep in advance, some people just prep the night that they're making dinners. But for lunches, especially if you work out of your home, you're probably going to want to do a little bit of prep work in advance. So that could be cooking your food on Sunday for the week. It could be cooking some aspects of your meals for the week, or it could simply be gathering your recipes and having everything ready. So one of the options I like to talk about as far as planning for lunches is making sure that you have dinner leftovers. If you don't want to have to dedicate time to two separate meals, one thing you could do would be to just make extra portions at your dinner so that you're going to have leftovers to take for lunch the next day. So that's a really easy way to plan in advance and prep, but not add extra work onto what you're already doing. And then you've got a really nutritious meal. And I also want to point out why this is so important. So when we eat out or order out, we're consuming way more calories, fat, saturated fat, sodium, all of these things which lead to weight gain and development of chronic diseases that we definitely want to try and avoid. So that's why this is so important. So, kind of all over the place just because this is a very broad topic, but, it is really important to try and cut back on eating out wherever possible. So if you're eating out every day, maybe start with packing just 1 or 2 days a week. That's going to be an improvement in itself. Or, if you're already eating out once or twice and want to cut back from there, maybe I'm going to pack lunches all week and save eating out for the weekend. So either way is definitely going to be a good way to go about it to cut back.
So Becca, if I can just say this, and so I know you made the comment, you sound like you're all over the place, but you're really not. You just have the thoughts running through your mind. But the reality is, the planning and the prep also requires time management. It requires us to really, I know I said the 3 Ps, but PPI, the implementation, Becca's going to get to in a moment. But Becca, you're saying some really powerful things, not that you don't always, but you do make some very strong points about, reducing costs also because you limit impulse buying. So all of these things are wrapped up together that Becca is giving us today. Make sure you're writing this down. So Becca, please continue.
Absolutely. So then, we've planned things out, we've picked our meal structure, we've planned the logistics, we have the containers, we've looked at our schedule, we've got the groceries. Now, we want to put that into action. So cooking, like I said, we could do the method where you cook extra portions at dinner to have for leftovers, or if you were to do something like cooking in advance, maybe prepping your foods on Sunday, there's a few ways you could go about that as well. You could batch cook one big recipe to have for several days, or you could simply just pick, one aspect of the meal that's going to remain constant around the week. I usually recommend protein just because that tends to have the longest cook time of most other things. And then if you don't like to eat the same thing every day, cook your protein, but do it a little different every day of the week. So maybe your protein this week is chicken. Cook yourself 5 pieces of chicken and then plan 5 different ways you can use that chicken. So one day could be chicken on a salad. Another day could be a wrap with chicken and veggies and mayonnaise, maybe like a chicken salad. Third day could be you add curry spices and do a chicken curry with curry vegetables and a little bit of rice, and so on and so forth. So you take that one item that's the same, but you be creative and you make it different every day, so it doesn't feel like you're eating the same thing every day of the week. So, and then of course it's always okay to go classic school lunch style, like like you're packing lunch for your kids. A sandwich, a fruit, a vegetable, maybe even a crunchy snack, It doesn't have to be so complicated. We can keep things simple to make it easier on ourselves to make sure that we can prioritize these nutritional goals. So, any questions, Pastor Cope? I know I threw a lot of stuff at you.
No, so, the last part of that being the implementation, it's important that we recognize what Becca's sharing with us. And I was making a few notes here as we were going through, Becca, and I hope everyone else did the same thing, because once again, we often talk about time management, but the planning and the preparation is going to be significantly important in us maintaining good health. So think about all of what Becca said this morning, or I should say this afternoon because it's after 12, that Becca shared with us how to go about our daily lives impacting our health and wellness by just simply doing some simple things: planning, prep, implementation. So, Becca, one of our listeners and viewers, before I do a little business with our sponsors, one of our listeners and viewers wanted to know about inflammation in the body. How can it lead to body pain, and what foods cause inflation? Listen to me.
I love this question because
inflammation.
anytime,
Yeah, I said inflation.
Yeah,
Yes.
this is one of my favorite topics. So anytime you feel pain, anytime you have a chronic disease, the root of that is inflammation. And there are definitely foods that are more pro-inflammatory or anti-inflammatory. So your pro-inflammatory foods are going to be pretty much anything that we know we shouldn't be eating. So junk food, fried food, anything processed.
Right.
The good stuff.
Right. That's so not so good.
Yeah. It tastes good, but it's not necessarily good for you. So it's going to be the foods that are high in saturated fat, high in added sugars, high in sodium, all the good stuff, basically. So we want to try and reduce those foods as much as possible, and instead choose foods that are more anti-inflammatory. So your healthy fats, the unsaturated fats, that's a big one. Choosing lots of fruits and vegetables. Not only do they have anti-inflammatory properties, but they also have antioxidant properties. So important to get those foods into your diet. And then, of course, doing more naturally sweetened things. So fruit is naturally sweetened. Choosing that instead of maybe a baked good as your dessert, or using yogurt as dessert, and yogurt instead of ice cream, something like that. So just trying to make swaps for the less healthy versions and try and choose more of those healthier versions on a regular basis. But then, of course, allowing yourself treats every once in a while is okay too.
So notice Becca used the word treat, because if it's something we do consistently, it's not a treat, it's a habit. We want to make sure that we treat ourselves, but we really want to get back to the basics of doing the right thing. And speaking of doing the right things and getting back to the basics, this segment of the broadcast has been brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. So if you're not currently a T-Mobile customer, you may call or text on the T-Mobile call or text line at 267-992-1424. We will move you into our queue so that you may become a T-Mobile customer and experience America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. Taxes and fees are included in your bill, and if you auto pay by attaching a credit card to your account, you will receive a discount on your monthly bill at T-Mobile, America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. So I'm going to ask another question for one of our listeners and viewers, Becca, who asked, is there something that can be done from a diet and nutrition perspective for someone who gets chronic migraines?
That is a very, very timely question. So I have been actually doing a lot of research myself on the link between migraines, headaches, and other issues too, like skin issues, allergies, and how all these things relate to our gut health. So these are some of the common symptoms that there could be something off with your GI tract or your gut microbiome, whether it be an imbalance of those bacteria that live there, maybe less of the good, more of the bad, or just an inflammatory response that's happening in your gut. And the reason that these things get off is from actually what we're putting into our bodies. So either you're putting those bad inflammatory foods into your diet too much, you've got a lot of stress going on, you're not sleeping right. These are all things that can harm our guts and the bacteria that live in them. So when we repair that, we put good foods into our body, we sleep, we reduce stress, these things will then help improve our gut health and then improve these secondary symptoms that are occurring as a result. So migraines specifically can be due to a magnesium deficiency. It could just be from not drinking enough water, but it's definitely worth exploring with a dietitian who can kind of point you into the right direction as to what the issue may be originating from.
Okay, and so just in reference to using a dietitian to benefit your health and wellness, if you go to BeccaTheDietitian.com, okay, you will find Becca has a lot of information on her website that will help your health and wellness. But if you'll share with our listeners and viewers the insurances that you are currently accepting, you will find that your insurance company may give you the opportunity to become a client of BeccaTheDietitian.com. So Becca, if you will share that information with our listeners and viewers.
Of course, I accept Aetna, Cigna, Blue Cross Blue Shield plans, and United Healthcare.
So if you go to her website, you will find that information. Contact your insurance company, and Becca may be able to also help you identify whether or not you would be able to be a client of hers. And just contact your insurance company. Make certain that you can use the service because she has so much information and she shares it with us every month here. But there's so much more that we can do. Can't just do it one day a month. We have to do it on an ongoing basis. So if you will, go to BeccaTheDietitian.com. So Becca, one of our listeners and viewers also asked this question. What is the best diet and nutritional, well, they said nutrition, I say structure for someone with arthritis?
The Mediterranean diet. It is a very anti-inflammatory diet, which, again, arthritis, it's pain, so it's inflammation. So we want to try and reduce that inflammation by choosing lean proteins like chicken, turkey, seafood, healthy fats like olive oil, nuts and seeds, some of those fatty fish, loads and loads of fruits and veggies, and then keeping those other, the saturated fat-rich foods, the added sugar, the salt, we want to keep those at bay for sure.
So it's very interesting that you mentioned those things because I know as you're speaking, I'm thinking about, what we use in our own household. You may be doing some things, but we all have room for improvement. So I'm going to say this, and I'll recommend this to all of our listeners and viewers, Becca, because I was having a dialogue with someone very dear to me, and we were talking about the comment I made yesterday to all of our listeners and viewers about doing a SWOT analysis on our personal lives and our professional lives. So you really can do a SWOT analysis for every aspect, and I would recommend that for your health and wellness, for your diet and nutrition. We may be doing some things, but we all can do better. And Becca, I'm putting you on the spot, but could you kind of give an analysis from a dietitian and nutritionist perspective on what a SWOT analysis would look like for our, and this didn't come from our listener and viewer today, but I'm asking this question because I know it'll benefit all of our listeners and viewers.
That is actually such a good idea. I think this would be a hugely beneficial strategy for anyone to use. So SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll start with strengths. So let's say, what do you do really well in your diet and your health practices? So, for example, I feel like I'm really good at eating a lot of fruits and vegetables. I get 3 to 5 servings of fruits and vegetables per day. That's a strength. A weakness for myself, I know, is that I love sweets. So I'm going to put that in the weaknesses column or box. And then opportunities. This one's a tough one. What would be a potential opportunity? Do you think it would be like to reduce added sugar?
I think that would be one, and I also think what you shared with us today about, planning, preparation, implementation, that also is an opportunity to improve our health and wellness and to improve our diet, our diet habits, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like it might be an opportunity.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
That would be an opportunity, or, for example, if you were to tie it back, maybe your weakness is also sweet. What would be an opportunity to help reduce those cravings and channel it into something different, or, and turn it into more fruits and vegetables, which are naturally sweet. And then a threat would be, maybe, okay, so we're thinking weaknesses, added sugar. A threat would be, okay, do you have a family history of diabetes?
Yes.
Realistically, is that something that could become a threat to you if you continue on the pattern of eating too many added sugars? So that's an example of how you could do that. But, of course, everybody is going to be different. Everybody does things well. Everybody has different weaknesses. But really identifying those opportunities and those threats is going to open the door for what direction you want to focus on.
So this is a real good opportunity for us to implement a SWOT analysis in our health and wellness. So Becca gave us some real good points on how we can do that analysis and then make the changes that are going to be necessary to improve our health and wellness. Now, I will say this. I truly believe, I've heard from so many of our listeners and viewers that what Becca has been sharing with us since she started being our monthly contributor has helped so many people. So I want you to know that all the questions that you sent in this past month, I take full responsibility for not having more of them and asking Becca some of my own questions for our listeners and viewers, because I actually didn't realize that this was the first Thursday of the month, and I started off with that today. Becca was,
I couldn't wait to come back.
and Becca she was right on point. She texted me this morning. She said, "Let's go." I'm paraphrasing, but she said, "Let's go. I'm ready. I've got a topic." And we were both, I was excited when she sent me the text, because I know how much all of you appreciate what Becca is doing with us every month. And so many of you have talked about improvements that you've made. There's more work to be done, and we're going to get to that work. And so I have a real personal question for Becca as soon as I do a little business for our sponsor. This segment of the broadcast has been brought to you by Porsche America. If you're in the market for one of the finest high-performance automobiles ever manufactured, go to PorscheAmerica.com. You will find a dealership in your area where you can view all of the inventory that they have on their floor plan. If they do not have what you desire to own, you can basically order and build your own Porsche of your desire on PorscheAmerica.com. And of course, if you're in our area, we invite you to stop into PorscheofDelaware.com, one of our sponsors of our annual Achievers Golf Tournament, PorscheDelaware.com. If you stop in, ask to speak to Mike Didio, General Manager at Porsche of Delaware. He will make certain that you get taken care of, that you have the opportunity to view what's available in inventory or order what you might desire to own in one of the finest high-performance automobiles ever manufactured. And of course, if you already own a Porsche, you can contact Mike Adams at PorscheDelaware.com. He is the service manager who will have an appointment scheduled for you. They will pick up and drop off your vehicle at your home or office, provide you with a loaner vehicle, and return your vehicle to you when your service has been completed. PorscheDelaware.com. So Becca, I'm going to put you on the spot here for a moment, because I happen to know, and I shared with our listeners and viewers, that you are training for a marathon. So both you and your husband are running a marathon together. So
yeah, we're doing it together.
All right, so here's what I'm going to ask for all of our listeners and viewers. Can you share your diet and nutrition. Now, this doesn't imply that everyone's going to run a marathon. That's not why I'm asking this question, because you've got to understand, in order for Becca and her husband to run, who I happen to know, and they're both in very good health. Becca is the picture of health. But Becca, it requires a lot to run 26.2 miles. And it's not it's not just the 26 miles that kill you, it's the 0.2 at the end that really do you in. But I'm going, yes, so I'm going to ask Becca, if you will, take our listeners and viewers through your current diet and nutritional plan for the marathon that you're preparing to run, because it will help all of us to understand this requires a lot of our bodies. And if we can just change and tweak some of the things that we're currently doing and apply what Becca's doing for her training, that's going to be a big help. I'm a runner, but I'm not running this year's marathon, but Becca is, and so I'm going to ask if you'll share that information.
Yeah, so the big things I'm really focused on are protein, because protein is really important for supporting our muscles, keeping them strong and healthy, and preventing injury. That's number one. I'm making sure I have protein with every meal, every snack. And this really applies to so many different people. It's not just athletes. It's as we age, protein is so important. If you're recovering from an illness or an injury, protein is important. If you're trying to lose weight, it's important. So protein should be number one. We always want to make sure we're getting enough protein no matter where we are in life. Number two, I'm actually really trying to increase my carb intake. So I've been eating a lot of carbohydrates, pretty much every meal, every snack too. But I'm also trying to choose more of those complex carbohydrates, less processed food, more natural versions. So, this morning I had sweet potatoes with my breakfast. I had fruit. For lunch, I had a peanut butter sandwich on wheat bread. For a snack, I had some blueberries mid-morning with cottage cheese, and, just making sure to get those carbs, but not just any carb, the complex carbs that are going to be more beneficial for us. And, of course, not increase our blood sugar or contribute to chronic diseases. Hydration, drinking lots and lots of water. And again, that's not just for athletes, that's for anybody. This summer in the Northeast has been so hot, and, that just makes us need even more water. So I recommend everybody look at how much water you're drinking. Make sure it's adequate. If you're falling short of at least 64 ounces a day, which is kind of like a general recommendation, or really half your body weight in ounces, how can you get that number higher? And then the last thing that I'm really focused on is anti-inflammatory, because that's something that's going to prevent developing injuries and keep me not only healthy from getting sick from illnesses or COVID or something like that, but also just preventing inflammation in my body, which could lead to muscle or bone damage. So I'm really focused on that, again, from fruits and vegetables. I'm taking my vitamins, and then I've been taking a few different supplements that have been recommended for athletes, a beet juice and a tart cherry juice. So those are kind of my things I've been focused on. But really, they apply to everybody. Everybody should be practicing those principles as much as possible. Enough protein, healthy carb choices, plenty of fluids, and antioxidants are going to be the keys for everybody to stay healthy.
So, Becca, what you just said is profound in many ways, because, I've shared with our listeners and viewers, I'm a runner also, and I've picked up some things from Becca along the way. And you and I'll have a chat on text off camera after regarding the supplements that you're taking. But but needless to say, what Becca just shared, as we age, all of these things are going to be important. And guess what? Every one of us is getting older every day. We're all aging. So the process of aging and the quality of life is going to be real important. And the reason Becca's doing all of these things that she just described is because, first of all, she's running a marathon that's coming up in November. But second of all, if you noticed, I pointed out that Becca's a picture of health. And the reason is because she's doing all of the right things. We all have the opportunity to do the right things. Sometimes we just don't do them. Sometimes it's hard, people say, to do the right things. But once you know the right things to do, it's hard not to do them. So we've got to make those changes that are necessary to improve the quality of life. And as always, the first Thursday of every month, we get so much information from BeccaTheDietitian.com. Rebecca Buva, licensed and registered dietitian and nutritionist, who's always with us every first Thursday of the month. Becca, we thank you for being with us. But before you say goodbye to all of our listeners and viewers, I just want to remind everyone, stay hydrated. And this Daily Divine Direction broadcast, 3D, has been brought to you by Fiji Water. A taste of paradise will be delivered right to your front door when you subscribe for delivery, and you'll save money at FijiWater.com. May God bless you today. May God keep his face turned towards you. May God give you peace that surpasses all understanding. Becca, I will let you sign off. Is there anything you want to say to our listeners?